So that every employee understands the nature of this invaluable resource, what follows is a somewhat simplified overview of the Xenomorph's life cycle. Variations from this cycle are addressed in other sections of Weyland-Yutani's files where applicable. For the purposes of this simplification, findings of the USCSS Prometheus have been omitted, and the details of Covenant transmission remain classified. First discovered by Executive Officer Kane in the cargo hold of a derelict alien ship on LV-426 in 2122, this initial stage of the Xenomorph is roughly 1 meter in height, ovoid, and leathery, with 4 petal-like lips at the top. Like a reptile egg, the leathery shell requires a moist environment to replenish albumin and external heat to develop properly. Resonance images taken aboard the USM Auriga showed an internal structure much like a reptile's egg, an amniotic cavity, a yolk, and a sac to support life, and albumin to supply hydration and shock absorption. Besides remarking on the humid heat of the cargo hold, Officer Kane also described a kind of field surrounding the eggs, consisting of a directed light and mist. It has been theorized that the eggs were in a kind of stasis field, dormant until triggered by a host large enough to accommodate an embryo. Uploads from Executive Officer Kane's suit showed that the eggs were at least partly translucent. He described the movement of organic life within. The Nostromo's away team did no carbon dating, so longevity speculations are questionable. However, the team noted that the alien ship seemed to have crashed or set down decades or possibly centuries before, and at least one of the eggs was still active in 2179 when an LV-426 colonist was implanted. Uploaded images from the atmospheric processor on LV-426 show a number of eggs in the Queen's chamber. Reads from the investigating Marines' equipment recorded a temperature of 29 degrees Celsius with 83% humidity. Aboard the USM Auriga, the newly laid eggs differed slightly from those in previously recorded data, presumably because the Queen was genetically altered. Hard data on these eggs is still unavailable, but anecdotal evidence suggests an egg hatches more aggressively when placed near a living host. Optimum incubation temperature recorded aboard the Auriga was 30 degrees Celsius, with a humidity of 85%. While adult xenomorphs are remarkably resilient to extreme environmental conditions, the eggs appear to require a specific environment to remain viable. Xenomorph eggs incubate in a hot, humid environment. Executive Officer Kane described the derelict's hold as tropical. While they may appear dormant, all xenomorph eggs should be considered viable and dangerous. Immediate placement in stasis is highly recommended. Inside the egg, the pale, spider-like FACEHUGGER is formed. It serves as a delivery system for the xenomorph embryo in the complex process known as oviposition. Successful oviposition requires not only finding the right type of host, but also evading the host's natural defense mechanisms. The FACEHUGGER has 8 tri-jointed digits and a long prehensile tail in order to attach to its host. The ovipositor, a fleshy tube through which the creature implants a host, is located anteriorly. Filtering sacs on either side of its body ensure the environmental control over the host once the FACEHUGGER is engaged. The organism's purpose is singular, to impregnate, but to do so the creature must attach itself to an appropriate host and keep the host viable long enough for the second stage xenomorph to develop. Aboard the Nostromo, artificial person and science officer Ash noted that the FACEHUGGER that attacked Executive Officer Kane fed him a cyanose-based paralytic substance and chemically suppressed his immune system in order to implant the parasite's embryo. The creature also filtered the toxic atmosphere of LV-426 to provide oxygen to Kane. Ash believed the organism was able to determine and mimic the host's atmospheric needs in order to keep him alive. However, there is no corroborating evidence, as Kane's implantation is the only recorded instance of a host being attained in a toxic environment. Colonist medtechs at Hadley's Hope also noted the paralytic chemical fed to the hosts and discovered this immunosuppressive substance released by the facehuggers related to an azathioprine. The colonists' first recorded attempt to remove a facehugger from the implantation process resulted in the death of the hosts, although implantation was prevented and the facehugger survived. Several facehuggers were captured by the colonists on LV-426 prior to embryonic delivery. Anecdotal reports suggest that the facehugger can survive for at least 120 hours outside the eggs without implanting. Based on the containment timestamps of Hadley's Hope's recorded testimony of USCM Captain D. Brackett, unsubstantiated reports from the Auriga tell us that no longevity tests were performed. The facehuggers are not self-sustaining organisms. Upon completing their single purpose, implantation of a xenomorph embryo, they expire. While the xenomorph egg apparently requires a warm and moist environment to incubate, facehuggers seem to thrive in a variety of atmospheric and environmental conditions. Though small, the facehugger is exceptionally strong. Quick and tenacious, it is able to overwhelm and impregnate an adult human on its own. After delivery of the necrotrophic embryo, the facehugger stays attached to the host until implantation is secure. Times range from 20 minutes to 16 hours. It is unknown how the facehugger receives the signal to disengage from the host, although scant evidence implies a recombinant plasmid chemical pulse. Its sumulparous purpose fulfilled, the facehugger then crawls away to die. The host often wakes shortly thereafter and does not appear to be aware of the implantation. After effects noted include a sore throat and a slight temperature. All recorded variations of facehuggers are capable of expelling acid. The creature encountered by the crew of the Nostromo melted through Kane's face shield in seconds to gain access to a suitable orifice. Aboard the USS Sulaco, a facehugger carrying a queen embryo similarly assessed Ellen Ripley's hypersleep chamber. Records from Hadley's Hope suggest that initial attempts to contain the facehuggers failed, resulting in several deaths. The LV-426 colonists finally enclosed the specimens in an alkaloid nacolite water bath, which apparently rendered their acid ineffective. Containers were also made of Weyland-Yutani med-grade tempered glass. Science Officer Ash was the first to suggest that the xenomorph XX121's blood is fluorine-based. When the AP attempted to remove the facehugger from Kane, the organism bled a highly caustic compound that subsequently ate through 2 full decks of the Nostromo. At Hadley's Hope, an undetermined number of colonists were burned or killed in attempts to remove implanting facehuggers. All stages of xenomorph XX121 exhibit this biology. The nymph stage of the xenomorph grows inside a host body. Current and best theories suggest that the embryo borrows from the host genome even as it is being implanted, incorporating the host genetic material into its own makeup. Combined with the immunosuppressive chemicals released by the facehugger, this further protects the organism from the host's natural defenses. In a matter of hours, the creature has directly absorbed the nutrients it will need to kickstart its accelerated growth. The growth period inside the host ranges from 4 to 20 hours, depending on the xenomorph type being carried. Evidence suggests that gestation time also varies not only by host type, but by individual host. Metabolism and environment both appear to be influencing factors as well. As it grows from embryo to nymph, the organism begins to take on the traits of its host while maintaining its own genetic intent. Its skin is pale and translucent. From collected scans, we see the inner pharyngeal jaws of the adult forming within 1 hour of implantation. Note also the long eyeless skull, the rudimentary extremities, and the development of the muscular tail. There are no scans available for this stage of the quadruped variant recorded at Fiorina 161, and no further documented tests have been carried out with non-human hosts. Reports and captures from Fiorina 161 suggest the physiology of the host strongly affects in the hatching xenomorph. We believe this is because the XX121 embryo employs a gene targeting to introduce point mutations, borrow from and adding to the host's DNA to restructure its own. Considering the ease with which the CHESTBURSTER earned its name, it has been theorized that the implant releases an enzyme to soften the bone and tissue that surround it, but chem panels taken from colonists on LV-426 are inconclusive. Data from the USM Auriga is incomplete. When the necrotrophic nymph is strong enough, it begins to bite its way out, simultaneously uncoiling then flexing its tail. The host invariably dies from massive traumatic shock and hemorrhage. The CHESTBURSTER automatically seeks isolation. Observations aboard the Auriga confirm that within seconds of breaking free of its host, the organism searches for an uninhabited space in which to develop unmolested. The xenomorph matures rapidly, reaching its adult size within hours. From Ellen Ripley's deposition in 2179, it got big, fast. It shed its skin like a snake. We thought it would still be the same size as it was when it hatched from Kane, but it grew. We found one of its skins while we were searching. Please note there were no records on the growth process from Hadley's Hope. From the serpent-like creature that erupted from Kane's chest, until Ellen Ripley forcibly ejected it from the shuttle Narcissus, the xenomorph grew considerably. Ripley described the final, presumed adult stage she witnessed. It was giant, over 2 meters tall, humanoid in form but with a long, segmented tail. There were these skeletal ridges extending off its back, like spines or maybe pipes. Its skin was hard, black, and shiny, like a beetle's shell, and it looked organic, but mechanical too. It had claws. The head was elongated, eyeless, and it had 2 sets of jaws, one inside the other. Its teeth, they were like stainless steel. Drones and the Queen are capable of secreting a substance not unlike the webbing of a spider, a proteinaceous silk that hardens upon drying. Images of hosts encased or partially encased in resin from LV-426 show that, like spider silk, hardened resin is relatively elastic while maintaining exceptional strength. The Hadley's Hope's hive's walls were literally dripping with this resin. It seems likely that the Xenomorphs were adapting the environment to better accommodate the hive, but data from the Auriga suggests that territorial marking may also have been at play. The adult Xenomorph excretes copious amounts of a saliva-like substance, which we believe to be the source of the resinous webbing the creatures use to build their hives. Company scientists are eager to acquire a sample of this unusual material in order to study its specific chemical properties. This exoskeletal structure is unique for a land-based organism the size of the adult Xenomorph. To support the weight, the exoskeleton is extremely dense, adding to the creature's natural defenses. The drones appear to communicate with one another through animalistic hissing and screeching, although pheromonal and telepathic communications have not been ruled out. Exact figures have not been attained, but the adult Xenomorph is estimated to have a bite strength of approximately 6,000 pounds per square inch. When injured or damaged, the Xenomorph bleeds acid. How the organism's blood works exactly was slated to be tested aboard the Auriga. Even if the scientists had survived to document results, however, the data would have been suspect, as the Queen alien's purity was corrupted by human DNA. Regardless, it is clear that specific measures need to be taken to avoid injuring a Xenomorph at close range. Several colonists and Marines were splashed by Xenomorph blood on LV-426 and were extensively burned. A Xenomorph aboard the Auriga was sacrificed by its own counterparts so that its acidic blood would augment escape for the other captives. The need for this action may have been imparted by the Queen, who was confirmed elsewhere on the vessel. The drone made no clear attempt to protect itself, supporting the theory that, like some insects, the Xenomorph's instinct to serve the hive is greater than its instinct for individual survival. Obviously, specimens at any stage will need to be contained in a carefully prepared environment. The adult Xenomorph, encountered by Ellen Ripley in 2122, aggressively searched for hosts. It used the ventilation system to move about and attack the crew 1 or 2 at a time. When the Nostromo was set to self-destruct, the creature hid itself in an escape shuttle. Clearly, this specimen displayed tactical intelligence and a strong survival instinct. Some theorize that there are more variations in the Xenomorph than we currently know. Worker, attendant, soldier, drone. It seems likely that each Xenomorph caste has adapted to its specific role. Note the slightly smaller head case of the adult drone seen on LV-426 in 2179. It is postulated that, with the Queen to lead them, the drones needed less intellectual capacity than the single organism aboard the Nostromo. As with hive or nest insects, the Xenomorph's primary instinct is to protect the Queen and her brood. If the hive or Queen is threatened, the Xenomorph will willingly engage in confrontation where it has no chance of survival. It is also possible that in the absence of a Queen, a single drone or worker can transform into an egg producer, although we only have anecdotal evidence to support this theory. If true, this indicates a certain level of intelligence that would not normally be associated with a so-called drone. The individual Xenomorph would have to complete a complicated series of tasks to create a safe and suitable hive, and to find and capture hosts. Granted, all of these behaviors may be instinctual, but on the Nostromo, the lone Xenomorph adapted quickly to extreme variables with clear problem-solving skills. On LV-426, the attacking drones apparently cut the power to the facility in which the Marines were entrenched. While it is possible that this was under the Queen's direction, we should not assume that the drones lack intelligence. At Furina 161, the single Xenomorph did not exhibit the same skills. The specimen was distracted from its attacks and easily lured into a series of traps. We therefore theorize that the fact that its host was a 4-legged animal, a dog or possibly a herd animal, influenced the creature's intelligence. Alternatively, it is possible that the presence of a gestating queen made the need for problem-solving and intelligence unnecessary. This would suggest that through an as-yet unknown trigger, or series of triggers, the appropriate caste is chosen through environmental cues. The apex of Xenomorph evolution, the Queen, has been shown to be stronger, smarter, and more vicious than the drones under her rule. The Queen stands between 4 and 5 meters tall and bears a crested crown measuring nearly 2 meters wide at the top. Like the drone, she has a second inner set of jaws and a muscular barbed tail used for defense. The Queen also has a secondary pair of thoracic limbs. The Xenomorph Queen is much larger than the drones and exhibits exceptional strength. Attendant workers assist the Gravid Queen, as her movements are limited by her connection to a reproductive system, an external oviduct and ovipositor. The benefits of this external system are obvious, as the Queen can willfully disengage from the system as needed. The Queen sits atop a massive external egg set that she can detach at will. The purpose of these protrusions extending from the Queen's back may be to provide counterbalance when she is engaged in egg production. It is unknown whether she forms them herself or if they are furnished by her drones. It is not clear how a queen is created. It has been postulated that the xenomorph species is engineered so that, in absence of a queen, but in presence of multiple hosts, one or more of the eggs will develop a queen embryo. Hadley's Hope may have generated several queens. This would imply that all eggs contain queen genetic code, which can be triggered under certain conditions. Or alternately, that a drone xenomorph is capable of becoming a queen. Data supports obligate parthenogenesis, that is, that the xenomorph reproduces exclusively through asexual means. But until adult specimens of XX121 can be properly studied, it is impossible to further classify the full means or method of reproduction. Parallels have been drawn between the xenomorph and a number of species, including wasps, spiders, ants, termites, lizards, and frogs. In fact, xenomorph XX121 reflects traits of all these organisms. Tarantula hawk wasps lay their eggs inside a living, paralyzed host. Spiders create their own materials to trap living prey. Ants and termites are eusocial. Their hives or nests based upon a specialized caste system with the reproductive queen at the center of colony activity. And many reptiles and frogs are capable of asexual reproduction. The xenomorph, however, is unique to biology, and the queen is the apex to that singularity. The queen is the nexus for life of the xenomorph hive. Without her, the hive cannot survive, nor does it have any purpose. Intelligence is clearly indicated. Obviously, the queen communicates with her workers. How that communication occurs is subject for debate. Pheromonal imperatives are a strong possibility, although the human-alien hybrid clone aboard the Auriga averred that there is a strong hive-mind connection. Certainly, we cannot discount telepathic ability. However, until given the opportunity to study a living hive, our understanding of the Queen's capabilities remain theoretical. Understanding the value of the xenomorph is vital, but to fully comprehend the importance of its connection to the company, it behooves every executive to remember our roots. The name Weyland-Yutani is synonymous with innovation and progress. Our commitment to studying the alien is based not only on financial gain, but upon maintaining the reputation that the company has earned through its unerring dedication to the advancement of humanity.